I'm doing my very best to be measured and calm in a time where, like, tension and people's emotions are at a high, and mine are also. I am also a human, so I need to say one thing. Look, whatever the political consequence is, my moral, ethical sensibilities hold that any innocent person who is not directly involved getting got is not okay with me. Now, does that mean I'm against the actions that led to it? Not necessarily. No. Bad things are going to happen if you're talking about, like, situations of injustice and oppression. That's just the reality. And on one side, I got people telling me, like, oh, you're being mealy-mouthed by not just saying they deserved it. And on the other side, I've got people saying, like, you're siding with terrorists. And, like, y'all need to pump the fucking brakes. Also, to my white American Jewish friends who I love dearly, please do not fix your mouth to tell a black person that they don't understand what it's like to be surrounded by enemies, okay? Don't say some dumb shit like that to me. Because I know that y'all have connections, and you maybe even know people who literally, like, lost their lives last weekend. And I have so much compassion for that. But every day of my life as a person of color in this country, a black person especially, is fraught with terror. Every time I walk by the people who you would turn to protect you, my heart rate goes up. I live in a country where I was born, where my people have been for hundreds of years, where even people that look like me think we don't belong. If you think that I don't have an emotional, direct, visceral connection to the struggles of all oppressed people in the world, and that I don't know exactly what it's like to be surrounded by enemies and have my life in peril at all times, you are not thinking clearly or compassionately about me or where I come from in this. I believe fiercely that we all need to have compassion for each other, even when our emotions are at a high point. And that is not happening from a lot of people right now. And y'all are helping them beat the drums for an extermination. Okay? I do not care what you think you are doing. There are powers, there are forces in play that want one outcome from this, because there is a long settler colonial project of supremacy that is about to reach a new level. And it's going to be really ugly, and history and I am going to look at you a certain kind of way based on how you acquit yourself right now. We, in this country especially, are so used to having it easy. We have oceans on either side of us. We do not know, really, what it's like, except for a few examples, to be, like, attacked, to be literally attacked. That's why 9/11 was so easy for them to use to get us to be okay with doing a bunch of shit in a bunch of countries that didn't have shit to do with it. And since it is even more fraught, and people have been so thoroughly propagandized, it's going to be easier to beat those same drums for the same people to make money off of it. And they don't care who you are. The people who you think are protecting you and your rights or your ancestral homeland, they don't give a shit about you. They don't care about any of us. So retreating into just corners of identity right now is a mistake. That's what they want from us. They do not want us to keep looking at what the real source of this is. Okay? You got your Raytheons. You got people who are making buku money right now because of all the weapons that are getting sold and that are going to be sold. That's the people who are really responsible for all this. I do not believe, full stop, in theocratic ethnostates. Period. There is never going to be a circumstance where that happens that's going to actually be good for anyone involved. I believe, like I fight for every day, like I believe in peace wherever people are, for everyone who is there. And creating the conditions for that to be the way that things are. Creating the mental, emotional, and historical, and informational, like, situation where that can happen. That doesn't come from being like, oh, yeah, well, people deserve to have an ethnostate based on the book that they like the best. I don't give a shit, and I'm sorry, that is not a reasonable way to order society. I'm not saying people should not have and maintain culture. I am saying that that culture is a different thing than the way that politics and the way that people are allowed to live is organized. These two things have to always be separate. That's why the idea of a separation of church and state is so important in this country. Even though we all know this is a Christian company. Actually, I was going to erase that, but it's a Christian company, it's a Christian country, whatever the fuck. It's both. And that's the reason that our country is backing up what's going on in the Middle East right now so much on one side, because it is part of a prophecy that evangelicals want to happen. And it's actually the most anti-Semitic thing I can think of, because do you know how that story ends if they have their way? Compassion is not one-sided. Compassion is most difficult when people are most pressed, but it is also when it is the most important. And the road we're on now leads to further tribalism and stuff that I can't watch happen. And you don't want to see happen either, regardless of how you feel at this exact moment. So if you're a leftist and you hate me because I say that, like, people in Israel shouldn't be killed, sorry. And if you are someone from Israel who thinks that I'm supporting terrorists by saying, like, what the fuck did you think was going to happen when you treat people like that, sorry. And by sorry, I mean I'm not sorry.